Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 25th November 2023, brought to you by Ganesh IS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. So mentioned here are the list of articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look at it. Okay, let's move on to the analysis of each and every topic one by one. Domestic production brings down cost of rare disease drugs. So the news is related to the impetus being given by the government to boost the domestic drug production for the rare diseases, so that the cost of those drugs for the rare diseases will be coming down. That is what the news is about. So how the news is related to civil service examination is, under prelims it is related to general science. Similarly under mains it is related to awareness in the field of IT, space, computer, robotics, nanotechnology, biotech, as well as issues relating to IPR, which comes under GS paper 3 science and technology. Okay, let's move on to the news. See, the Indian drug companies have started manufacturing the medicines for the rare diseases. Some of them are tyrosinemia type 1, Gaucher's disease, Wilson's disease, Dravet, Lennox, Gastaut syndrome. These are all the 4 types of disease for which the drugs are being manufactured by the drug companies in India, and it is expected to bring down the cost of those diseases drugs by 100-fold. And government also urged the industry to produce a solution for hydroxyurea, which is needed for the treatment of sickle cell diseases that is prevailing among the children below the 5 years of age. And the price of eligostat, a capsule for the treatment of Gaucher's diseases, has reduced from 3.6 crore to a range of 3 to 6 lakh because of the increased production of domestic drugs. So we could able to see that a 10-fold decrease in the price of the drugs. And then the price of Trintine capsule, which is used for the Wilson's diseases. Wilson's disease is nothing but the excess of deposition of copper in the cornea, liver and brains, thereby leading to psychiatric kind of symptoms, has also dropped from 2.2 crores to 2.2 lakhs. Similarly, the imported nitrogenone capsule, which is used for treatment of tyrosinemia type 1, a metabolic condition where the body cannot break the amino acid because of missing enzymes, leading to accumulation of liver and causing serious liver diseases. So this is what is called as tyrosinemia type 1, which the drug to cure the tyrosinemia type 1 is nitisinone, which has reduced from 2.2 crores to 2.5 lakhs. Similarly, the government is also working with the drug companies to ensure that more number of drugs for the rare diseases will be boosted in India itself, will be produced in India itself, so that the price will be coming down. And at the same time, the rare diseases patients are living in different parts of the country. So right now the medicine for those rare diseases is only available at the center of excellence for rare diseases. And right now the negotiation as well as discussion has been going on between the stakeholders to ensure that all the people could be able to receive these drugs through Jan Aushadhi. This is what the news is about. And what is the rare disease? So we are talking about the drugs related to rare disease. Okay, let's look into what is this rare diseases. Rare disease is nothing but a disease whose prevalence is less than one, less than 1 per 1000 people, and around in India around 6 to 8 percentage of people have been affected by this rare diseases. If you are going to convert this percentage into quantitative terms, means it is 8.4 crore to 10 crore people have been affected because of these kind of diseases. So what is the challenges for rare diseases in India is, first and foremost is the lack of treatment for those diseases. Secondly, it is the cost of the treatment is also high. The access to the drugs as well as the access to the treatment, the cost for both of them is very high in India. And then there is lack of awareness among the people and other stakeholders like policy makers, policy implementers, so on and so forth. Fourthly, increased loss of life that is happening because of this increased rare diseases in India. These are all the challenges for rare diseases in India. So what need to be studied further is, what need to be done is, there need to be inclusive policy so that all the people values would be represented in the policy, and then increasing finance under the Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi. The Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi is the nidhi which has been allocated for the rare diseases in India. A mere 20 lakhs have been provided through this nidhi. Right now this 20 lakhs is not at all enough to afford a medicine or a treatment of the rare disease. So this finance need to get increased, and then digitalization of crowdfunding technique to mobilize the financial resources by the government need to be enhanced, so that the fund, enhanced fund will be available for those people, those who have been affected by the rare diseases. Fourthly, increasing the awareness among the stakeholders. So these are all the different things or the suggestions which could be done. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of the national policy for rare diseases 2021, which was passed recently, and then Jan Aushadhi Kendra, and then Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. These are all the other things which we need to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Curbing exuberance. So the news is related to the rising unsecured loan in Indian economy. So under prelims, it is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains, it is related to Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, which comes under GS3, economic and development. Okay, the unsecured loan has grown in the past 2 years more than the overall advances being given by the banking system, and the composition of secured as well as unsecured loan has changed. Right now, out of the total advances, the proportion of the unsecured loan is higher than the proportion of the secured loans. And for the unsecured as well as secured advances, the share of the special mention account, that is the account where the interest as well as the principal is overdue, such kind of account is called as special mention account. And the unsecured as well as secured loan, their share in the public sector bank is 9.8 percentage as well as 9.2 percentage respectively. And RBI has advised so this is what the trend is. So what has been done from the government side is, see, RBI has advised the NBFC, because the NBFC has the higher amount of exposure to the unsecured loan when compared to the traditional bankings. RBI has advised the NBFCs to strengthen their internal surveillances, so that this rising unsecured loan won't cause any kind of stresses. And also at the same time, recently RBI has raised the risk weight for the consumer loans other than housing, education, vehicle, gold loans, etc. Sorry. And as I said, NBFC has the higher amount of higher exposure to the unsecured loan, and this NBFC mobilize their fund from the banking sector. So if there is any kind of default in the unsecured loan, means there will be ripple effect in the banking sectors, which in turn will have ripple effect in the overall economy. So that is the reason why RBI is taking this thing as seriously, so that there won't be any kind of stress that will lead to ripple effect in the economy. As per the data from the central bank, the loan and borrowings from by the households, because these households are the important contributor for the increased unsecured loans, and they are from the NBFCs as rose from, see, 21,432 crore to, which is 2021 and 22 period, and it has raised to 2.3 lakh 2.39 lakh crore in mere 1 year of time period, that is 22-23 period. And right now the measures have been taken, like in the case of increasing the risk weight for those loans, so that the interest rate for those loan will be raised, which in turn will have effect in the demand as well as the supply side. And then this growing concern, as I said, this growing unsecured loans has raised the concern among the policy makers. So this is what the news is about. And then the recent study on the unsecured loan by the UBS, what it has said is that the risk of default on the unsecured loan is rising, which need to be curbed. Else there will be a ripple effect that will be having in an economy because of the increased stress that is happening in NBFCs because of the rising unsecured loans. So what is the challenges for unsecured loan is, there is challenges in recovering because these loans doesn't have collaterals, and there is challenge in recovering. Secondly, as I said, it will be leading to ripple effect, which in turn will be reducing the overall economic growth. This is what the challenge is for unsecured loan, but there is some significance in it. If the unsecured loan has been regulated properly, means there is some kind of significance, like in the case of, it could lead to increased consumption, which in turn will be leading to increased production in an economy if the size of the unsecured loan is contained. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of the bank, the overall what does the bank mean, and under which act it has been formed, so on and so forth, and their functions. And secondly, you should also be aware of CRAR, and then NPA, what are all the different types of NPA that is present in an economy. So these are all the things which we need to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. A new cure. Recently, gene editing technology for the sickle cell diseases have been given go ahead in the UK, United Kingdom. So this is what the news is. So under prelims, it is related to general science. Similarly, under mains, GS paper 3, science and technology, under a subtopic called awareness in the field of IT, space, computers, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnology, and issues relating to IPR. Okay, let's move on to the news. So India is the second largest contributor for the sickle cell diseases, and in India nearly 30,000 to 40,000 children are born with sickle cell diseases every year. And UK became the, as I said, first country to approve the use of CAGV, which uses the gene editing tool to cure the sickle cell diseases. And currently, the remedy for the sickle cell diseases is chemotherapy, hydroxyurea, to reduce the frequency of the complications to the patients. And right now, the green light has been given by the UK, which is expected to also this kind of approval need also be which is expected to be given by the US in the coming days. And what the US as well as UK are right now estimating the cost of this treatment is, they are estimating it could be around nearly $2 million. So from this itself, you could be able to see that common people could not able to access this treatment because of the cost of this cost for availing this treatment. And this is what the thing is. So okay, let's discuss about what does the sickle cell disease is about. The oxygen carrying nutrients in the hemoglobin will be present in the hemoglobin in red blood cell. If this oxygen carrying nutrients is absent or deteriorated in the hemoglobin, means it will be leading to sickle cell diseases. So in a normal hemoglobin deficient cell will be, say the hemoglobin deficient cell is contrast to the hemoglobin sufficient cell, but this sickle cell disease is entirely different concept. As I said, the oxygen carrying protein which is present in the hemoglobin in the red blood cell, if it is absent, means that cell will be turned into a shape called sickle. That is the reason why it is called as sickle cell diseases. If the oxygen carrying hemoglobin in the red blood cell is at the healthy rate, means then it will be of the shape of like this. So increased amount of sickle cells inside the body will be leading to anemic of the persons because of the lack of availability of healthy hemoglobin inside the red blood cells. So this is what the sickle cell disease is about. And what this GAZA, that is the gene editing technique that has been given approval by the UK, will be doing to overcome this sickle cell diseases is, see, the GAZA does not do anything with the mutation, and most importantly the sickle cell diseases is genetic factor. It could be transformed from one generation to another generation through genetic means, and this GAZA doesn't do any kind of thing with the mutation in the cells, but it will ensure that it is designed to compensate for the hemoglobin by reviving the fetal hemoglobins, so that it could able to compensate for the lost hemoglobin. This fetal hemoglobin is the hemoglobin which becomes dormant once after a child has been birthed. So this fetal hemoglobin will be reactivated. So this hemoglobin, which in turn will contribute or compensate for the loss of the hemoglobin in the other red blood cells. So this is what the thing with relation to the sickle cell disease is about, and this is how the GAZA will be working. So what government need to do, as we have seen that the cost is very high, which could not be accessible by the common people, but India is one of the hub for the sickle cell anemia affected patients. So our research institutions should explore all the possibilities to ensure that the medicines or the such kind of techniques will be developed domestically, and it will be affordable to the common people in India, and there need to be increased financing need to be made by the government to this research institutions. So these are all the things which government need to do. What the sickle cell anemia elimination is about, elimination mission is about. It will eliminate sickle cell diseases as a public health problem by 2047. This is what the mission is about, and it will enable, through this mission, it will enable the access to the affordable and quality health care all the sickle cell diseases patient, and lower the prevalence of the diseases through awareness, and at the same time the changes of practices as well as changes of screening intervention will also be made through this mission. And initially it is right now being focused on 17 states which has high prevalence of sickle cell diseases cases. So this is what the things with relation to the news is about. What are all the things which we need to be further aware of is, we should be aware of Cas9, CRISPR-Cas9, a gene editing tool. Secondly, we should also be aware of COVID-19. Thirdly, we should also be aware of ICMR. So these are all the other areas which we need to be further aware of. India, EU signed Semiconductor Pact. The news is related to the signing of deal between India and EU in terms of semiconductors. So let's move on to the news. Under prelims, it is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains, it is related to GS paper 3, economic development, under a subtopic called Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development, and employment. Okay, let's move on to the news. Say recently, the India as well as European Union has signed an MOU on cooperation on semiconductor ecosystem. The move is in sync with the recent announcement by Government of India to provide an incentive of 10 billion for those who are willing to manufacture chip in India. And the MOU has been signed at Trade Technology Council meeting. And this Trade Technology Council between India and EU has been formed recently, in which India is the second country only next to US, which the European Union has formed such a kind of Trade and Technology Council. And the role of the Trade and Technology Council is to enhance the cooperation between the countries in terms of trade as well as technologies, so that it will be deepening the strategic engagement. So this is what the Trade and Technology Council is. This is what the objective of the council is, and the MOU that has been signed recently. So what is the need for domestic manufacturing of the semiconductor is, see, it will reduce the import dependency, which in turn will enable us to save more number of forex outgoing. Secondly, we could also overcome the supply chain disruption that is happening around the world because of the pandemic. And so to overcome such kind of disruption, domestic production need to get increased. Thirdly, input, it will act as input for the electronic manufacturing industries in India, so that this semiconductor manufacturing will ensure the electronic manufacturing ecosystem in India. That is the reason why the need for domestic manufacturing of semiconductor has been given more importance. What is the steps taken to promote the semiconductors in India by government is Indian Semiconductor Mission, to ensure that the chip is being produced in India. Secondly, support for 100 domestic companies on semiconductors design, semiconductor designers on ICs, chipset, so on and so forth. And then fiscal support of up to 50% of project cost is given to the semiconductor fabrication as well as the display fabrication companies. And then PLI scheme, that is product linked incentive scheme. And then chip to startup program, that is to train nearly 85,000 engineers who are qualified in ESDM stream, so that it will enable them to start a startup related to the semiconductors. So these are all the steps that has been taken recently to promote the semiconductors in India. So what are all the things which we need to be further aware of is, we should be aware of what is Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Secondly, we should be aware of the scientific aspect of the semiconductor. Thirdly, we should also be aware of the rare earth minerals. So these are all the other areas which we need to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, what is the situation in Gaza? So the news is related to the current situation in Gaza after the implementation of the truce in the fighting area. So under prelims, it is related to current events of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under mains, it is related to effect of policies, politics of developed as well as developing countries of Indian interest and India's diaspora. So this is what the situation in Gaza right now after the implementation of the truce between the Gaza as well as Hamas as well as Israel. Nearly we could able to see that 14,500 children have died on the ongoing war, and then nearly 1.7 million people are out of the Gaza's, out of the total 2.7 million population in Gaza are estimated to have internally displaced, not externally. Internal displacement has happened, and nearly 156 shelters run by the UN Palestinian refugee agencies are sheltering nearly 1 million people, and 45% of Gaza has become the have already been Gazan people home have been damaged or completely destroyed, and nearly 33% there has been increased number of premature birth because of mother suffering psychologically as well as physically, and then nearly 1,30,000 liters of diesels and trucks of petrols to be delivered daily to the Gazans after the pause began, according to Egypt. And this is how the thing right now is, and this truce has been taken place after the United Nations Security Council resolution, which has been passed recently, where US UK didn't, they abstained from the voting, where in the case of Russia was also abstained from voting, but it got a vote of nearly 12 voting, which is higher than the 9 required vote for passing a resolution. So if the resolution is being passed by United Nations Security Council, means it will be implemented and it is legally binding on those people on whom the resolution has been passed. This is how the things is. And for India, this war is very important from the perspective of energy security and from our diasporas as well as people, Indian origin people working in Middle East, because they are largest contributors in terms of remittance to India. So these are all the concerns right now India is having in relation to the war that is happening in between Israel and Hamas, and India's stand is condemning the terrorism of all kind, and at the same time wanting of two-state solution. This is what the stand of India at international forum. So this is how the things right now in the Gaza war is about. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of United Nations Security Council, its structure, function and mandate. Secondly, we should also be aware of Middle East map. Thirdly, we should also be aware of the India as well as Israel relationship. What is the historical aspect of the India-Israel relationship? We should be aware of it. These are all the things which we need to be further aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's move on to today's prelims practice question. Mentioned here is the today's practice prelims question. I want those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Okay, with this, we have reached the end of this session. Please do like, comment, share as well as subscribe Ganesh IAS YouTube channel, so that you will get notification with relation to the current affairs sessions and any other important session that will be brought to you in the future by Ganesh IAS Academy. Thank you.